This is a HeadGum podcast.
Before we start, I just quickly want to note that in 2 weeks, the next episode of the show will be the Jeff Rubin Show 5-year anniversary. You do not want to miss it. That's why I'm telling you before the show even starts. All right, I'm going to get out of the way. Here's this week's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to the Jeff Rubin Show. I am, of course, Jeff Rubin, and today we are talking to Dick Nelson, a retired Major League Baseball umpire. Welcome to the show, Dick.
Thank you, sir.
Dick, you're retired now. How long were you an umpire?
Well, I was a professional umpire, 74 to 1980, and 3 years of that time were in AA, 2 in AAA, and my second to last year in AAA, I went to spring training with the American League. And then my last year in AAA, I went to the American League for 51 days. And then because of illness, I had to retire.
Umpiring seems like a physically demanding job, right?
Yes.
Like you're not exactly playing baseball, but you're not watching it either. From the stands, like there must be some physical element to it, right?
Well, there's a lot of physical element, but my problem was a heart attack and cancer, so I had to leave the field. And then after I left the field, I was hired by Major League Baseball Umpire Development as a supervisor.
Well, I'm sorry that you went through that, but I'm glad that you got through it and that you still found a way to umpire. So let me ask you, it's pretty interesting that you worked your way up kind of through AA, through AAA, maybe not unlike a player. I mean, how does that work? Is it like a player where most umpires start in the minor leagues and then work their way up?
Normally speaking, you go to umpire school, which is approximately 6 weeks, and then they select a certain number that, as far as they're concerned, are qualified to go into the professional baseball at the minor league level. And normally speaking, you'll put 1 year in what they call rookie ball, and then after that, you'll go probably 2 years to Class A baseball, and then 3 years probably to AA, and then 3 or more depending on the openings in the major leagues. To 3 years in AAA before you probably really get to go to the big leagues.
Maybe I should back up. Actually, maybe I got too far ahead of myself. What made you actually go to umpire school in the first place? What made you want to do this?
I was put 20 years in the military, and during my military career, as most people do that want to be officials, I joined the local association in the area I was stationed, and I started, at the junior high school, and then college level. And I was doing a college game, and a couple of young fellows that I didn't know were in the minor leagues and watching the ball game. And when we got done, they stopped by the locker room and congratulated me, said I did a good job, and did I ever think about going to umpire school? And I said, no, I hadn't, and this was in 1969. So I applied. At that time, it was called the Al Summers Umpire School, which later became the Harry Wendelstedt Umpire School. So I applied and went to school in 1970 and finished in the top of the class. And because of my military commitment, couldn't take a job in professional baseball for a couple of years. And then when I did, I went to AA for 3 and then AAA for 2. And then, like I said, because of illness, and I didn't stay very long in the 51 games in the major leagues.
And what is it that made you like the top of the class? What do you actually learn in umpire school? Certainly the rules. I imagine they are pretty thorough on the rules of baseball, but I imagine there's more to that than that, right?
Yeah. You're in the classroom every morning at 8 o'clock until about, till about 11 or 12, and then break for lunch, and then what you learn in the classroom at 1 o'clock. The instructors go on the field at 1. They demonstrate what was taught in the classroom in the morning, and then the students do the actual things that were demonstrated, and you do those things all day long till about 6 o'clock, and through the 5 weeks. And then at the end of the 5 weeks, the instructors in class vote on who they think with time and experience could handle minor league baseball.
So what are those exercises out on the field? Are there players whose game you are calling? Like, how do you mock umpire without a baseball game?
Well, what you do the first 3 weeks are basically all instruction. You learn, which is not the hardest thing to learn. You learn how to take the mask off without losing the hat. You learn how to work behind the plate on both sides, right-handed batter, left-handed batter. You learn all the duties and responsibilities of the plate umpire, and then you learn all the duties and responsibilities of the base umpire, and such things as obstruction and interference and catcher interference, batter interference, runner interference, coach's interference, spectator interference. You learn how to handle plays at first base, and steal plays at second, and plays at second, and plays at home. Balls caught in the outfield as to whether or not they're catchers or not catchers, and those are all the things that are taught to you. Then the last 2 weeks of umpire school, I'm sure you're familiar with the term fungo bat.
I don't know that I am. Could you define it for us?
Okay, fungo bat, you notice how before the game, one of the coaches stands at home plate. He's got a bat in his hand that is probably a lot thinner and longer than a normal bat. He tosses the ball up to himself and then hits it where he wants hit. And that's called fungoing. So you say for umpire school, we don't have anybody on, so we have a student runner standing at home plate, and one of the instructors will hit the ball. Maybe he'll hit it for a ground ball to see what both umpires do on the ground ball. Maybe he'll hit it for a base hit to see what both umpires do on the base hit. And basically it's a controlled baseball game. We don't use live baseball players in teaching umpire school because maybe I want a single. How do I know the pitcher pitching the ball, the batter will hit a single? Maybe he'll foul 5 or 6 off, or maybe he'll swing and miss. So it's under a controlled situation.
And what are you looking to demonstrate to prove that you are one of the people, who could really make a career of this? Like, what are the skills that set someone apart in umpire school? Well,
there's many things, of course, but there's categories to evaluate a plate umpire, such as head height, whether it's too high, too low, whether the head is in the area where he can see the ball all right, whether he's too far behind the catcher, whether he may be hiding behind the catcher, maybe he's getting down too late, maybe he's getting down too soon. Is he watching the ball, which we call tracking, from the time the ball leaves the pitcher's hand till it comes to the meat? Is he tracking the ball? Is he flinching? Is he blinking? And those are, what does he do when the batter moves the bat? Does that seem to change his strike zone because of the bat being moved? So all those things. Does he know how to handle a half swing?
How do you handle a half swing? Are you saying he's making the right call when someone has a half swing? Now,
depending on who you talk to, and there's many people that you can talk to, and they could just all be right. But generally speaking, when we're teaching umpires what is a half swing, in our estimation, a half swing is when the batter actually tries to hit the ball, but in doing so, he holds up on the swing, but he is committed too far in the swing, which to me means you tried to hit the ball. Now, you'll hear people say, well, if he takes the barrel over the barrel of the bat over the plate, well, I can take the barrel completely over the plate and not be swinging. People will say, well, did he break his wrist? Well, not too many ball players can swing at a pitch and break their wrist and continue to play baseball. So, that's not a definition. Definition of what we determine a half swing if the batter, in fact, tried to hit that ball.
And that must be codified somewhere. Like it must in the what does the baseball rule book look like? There is a rule book, right? Like the rule book of Major League Baseball.
Well, yeah, sure, there certainly is. I mean, and it's got 10 or 11, 12 chapters depending on what you want to talk. Do you want to talk about the batter? Do you want to talk about the hitter? Do you want to talk about the runner? Do you want to talk about the umpire? And all those things are covered naturally. Do you want to talk about the pitcher? Well, each one of those chapters gives you all the information and tries to define all the rules pertaining to that particular chapter.
Gotcha. How thick is the book? Like, how big is the actual book?
Well, if you're talking about, is it an inch thick or, it's probably, a half inch thick, maybe half inch to 3/4. It's not that thick, but there is quite a bit in there. And then baseball, depending whether you're a minor league umpire or major league umpire, they have what they call an interpretation book. The rule book might say one thing, and you read in the book and say, well, Jeff, I interpret it this way. Dick, I interpret it this way. Well, baseball's got what they call an interpretation book, so that when Jeff reads the book, he knows what they're talking about. When I read the book, I know what they're talking about.
It sounds like rabbinic law. It sounds like people arguing about, like there's rules and then commentary on the rules. That's basically how that works too.
Yeah, I mean, needless to say, you have to have rules, and you have to be able to enforce them and interpret them. But then again, I've been teaching umpire school for 45 years. Because you're a good rule man doesn't mean that you're going to be a good umpire on the field.
Because what would be the gap? What's missing that might make someone a good rule man but not a good umpire on the field?
Well, you've been to school. You know what the valedictorian is in your class. I mean, he's the brain. He's the book learner. But can the valedictorian go out and actually do the job? Well, maybe he can, maybe he can't. I've known people that will take a rule test and get 100%, walk on the field and throw an interference play at them, and they're not as bright about it.
Are they just uncertain? Are they just indecisive? Like how does someone mishandle an interference play, for instance?
Well, by the time they get to the minor leagues and they get to the big leagues, what I'm going to say doesn't pertain to them because they're trained, they're ready.
Right. These are students who would, I assume, a basic level of competence once you're in the big leagues.
Yeah, when you come to umpire school and you've been a high school, college umpire, we tell you the biggest thing between a high school, college umpire and a minor league umpire is knowing your responsibility, knowing what you're supposed to do, knowing where you're supposed to go. And let me ask you a question.
Okay. Very unorthodox, but I'm going to allow it.
Well, that's okay. We have plays at first base.
Okay. What
would you be looking for on a play at first base if you're an umpire?
I mean, I guess the main elements are the ball, where the ball is, and then when the runner is touching the base. Those seem like the two main things I need to be keeping track of, right?
Okay. As a base umpire, when the ground ball is hit to shortstop, first thing you want to establish is a proper angle from the origin of the throw. And you want that angle to be 90 degrees. You want proper distance from you to the bag, anywhere from 18 to 21 feet. Then, when you are facing the bag, you're watching the ball, but you're squared to the bag. When you read a good throw, then you're going to take your eyes to the bag. You're going to watch the runner's foot hit the bag, and you're going to listen for the ball to hit the glove.
Oh, so there's like a sound element. That's interesting. Obviously, you wouldn't know that from the stands. You wouldn't have that perspective.
Now, if I told you timing on that play, Jeff, what do you think that timing means? It means take your time on making the call?
No, I mean, I assume it's the timing of the runner versus the ball, and if he's out, right?
Okay. But if you had to define timing, how would you define it?
Define time?
Timing.
Timing? I guess the timing of the call, you mean?
No. See, there again, you've got one interpretation of it, I might have another. The definition of timing is proper use of your eyes.
Okay, so what
that determines timing. Not wait an extra second to see what happens. What you do, your eyes saw the foot hit the bag, your ears heard the ball hit the glove, then take your eyes from the bag up to where the glove is to see if the first baseman has firm, secure possession of the ball. It's not trapped against his body. He's not bobbling it. That is timing, proper use of eyes. And the difference between high school, college, and professional umpires is they don't have the same type timing or definition of timing that we would teach you.
And what's the difference between a major league umpire and a minor league umpire? Is there new skills you have to pick up along the way there?
I'm going to be a wise guy, Jeff. The difference between a major league umpire and a minor league umpire is $100,000.
I see. So it's the same job, you're just doing it on a different scale.
Well, the thing is, by the time you went to rookie ball, you went to A ball, you went to double A, went to triple A, you got all that training you needed to put you in the big leagues, and then now you're in the big leagues, you're ready for the big leagues. If you didn't have that training, now, I could send you tomorrow to Yankee Stadium, and you might get the first play at first base okay. We tell you, when we're in umpire school, 95% of the plays will call themselves.
Right.
Those are easy. It's the other 5%. Can Jeff handle the other 5%? Can he handle the bobble ball? Can he handle the wild throw that pulls the first baseman off? Can he handle the first baseman trying to swipe tag the runner as he goes by? That's the difference between a major league umpire and a minor league umpire. Major league umpires are ready for that. Minor league umpires are learning how to get ready for it.
Just career-wise, when you're an umpire, what are you doing in the off-season?
A lot of nowadays with the salary structure I'm talking about major leagues. The salary structure in the major league is so good. Most of them probably don't do anything. Some of them might substitute teach or with the other kid, whatever the case might be. In the minor leagues, most minor league umpires have a job in the off season. A lot of them work for UPS or FedEx or school teach or construction work or find something they can do to help earn a living, because the money in the minor league is really not good at all.
And then once you are an umpire, minor or major league, who are you working for? It's the league, right? It's like not the team. Like you're not just the umpire for one team. Do you move around? In
the minor leagues, the minor leagues are governed by what they call National Association of Professional Baseball, and there's a president of that. And in the National Association, there's probably say 15 leagues. And if you're working in the Pacific Coast League, which is AAA, Jeff, you work for the Pacific Coast League president. That's who you answer to.
So are you doing multiple teams then? Are you going around?
What we do now at all levels of baseball, whether it be the minor leagues, the major leagues, very seldom do you spend more than 3 or 4 days with one team, because you don't want to be with one team too long, because then they get to wanting favors from you. You get too close to each other. So about every third or fourth day, you're moving. Now, if we're in a 3-man team, and you and I and we'll say our friend Joe, then tonight I got home plate. Tomorrow night I'll have third base. The next night I'll have first base. Now, with a major league team, 4 umpires. Tonight I'll have home plate. Tomorrow I'll have third base, second base, first base, back to home plate. You could not do home plate every night. It's too taxing and too strenuous.
What's taxing? Just on your legs, mentally?
Well, it's physically taxing for sure, but emotionally, mentally, I mean, there's going to be over probably 300 pitches tonight. And if you're behind home plate, you have got to concentrate each one of them pitches. Whether it be a ball or a strike, you've got to be in that game. So mentally, it's really, really, really tiring.
Staying focused on a baseball game and every single pitch and where every pitch lands, that seems difficult, right? Is that something you have to train yourself to do, or you just do it?
No, we teach you how.
What's the trick? What is the trick?
Well, the trick is, when the pitcher's on the rubber, you're getting your feet behind home plate in the general position you want them in. When he starts movement towards the plate, you're going to come down into your set position. Then you're going to render a decision on the pitch. Then you're going to stand up, and we want you to step back, relax. When we say step back and relax, we mean step back and relax. We don't want you zoomed in, 100% attention on the pitcher. I mean, you'd wear out in no time at all. So be relaxed enough where you can be relaxed but ready to go at a moment's notice. So you must relax between pitches. You must relax between plays. If you don't, you wear out in no time at all.
And are me, you, and Joe, are we an umpire team? Do we travel together? Are you always working with the same people, or is it mixed up night to night?
Unless there's problems during the season, you, me, and Joe will be a crew the whole season.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll travel together, and we'll work together, and we'll whether it be in the lower minor leagues where you're driving your car, then we'll drive together. In AAA and above where they fly, then we'll fly together. In a hotel, we'll have separate rooms, and if you and I and Joe want to go to lunch together, we go to lunch together. If you just want to go by yourself, or you got a buddy in town, you want to go to lunch with him, go with him. But, you know, you need to get away from each other a little bit. You can't spend 24/7 with each other.
Now you're there, you're on the plate, someone pitches the ball, and you got to make a call every time. Is there ever, I mean, it seems like over all the pitches, over all the games you umpired, was there ever one that came across the plate and you were just like, geez, I don't know. I didn't really get a good look at that one, or a throw to first base, or just anything. Like, umpires, it seems like they're always so decisive in the moment, never don't know. Is that right?
Well, it might be right in a way, but when I'm behind the plate and the pitch comes in, I know I got to call it something. Now, depending on my timing, I might be too quick in calling that pitch, and it's too high to begin with, so I make up my mind and I say, that's a ball, so I say ball, and all of a sudden it drops in and becomes a strike. Well, I can't do anything about that. I made a mistake, I had bad timing, and I'm not going to try to make up for that. But has there ever been a pitch that come in that I didn't know what it was? No.
And when you say you're not going to try to make up for that, you mean I called this one a ball, even though I think now it's a strike, but so later I'll call one that looks like a ball you wouldn't try to just even it out.
Absolutely not. Let me ask you something. I'm behind the plate, and you're the batter, and a pitch comes in, and I say, I missed that one. I'll make this next one up. Oh, now I owe Joe 1, but I owe Pete 2, I owe Tommy 3. How am I going to stay up with that?
Right.
You do not try to make up for anything you might do wrong.
But when you say it looks like it's below his shoulders and then it drops down at the last second, you're talking about like tenths of a second. Like, it takes so little time for the baseball to leave the pitcher's hand and get into the catcher's mitt. So, I mean, when you see a pitch, are you processing it like, all right, that looked like a strike, or is it at an instinctual level where you don't even have to think about it? You just you call him like to see him, for lack of a better word, you know?
Well, remember I mentioned a few minutes back, term called tracking. If I'm doing my job, I am taking the ball from the time it leaves the pitcher's hand. I am following it with my eyes, not my head, until it enters the catcher's glove. And during that period of time, it'll either be a strike or a ball, depending on where it crosses the plate in reference to the strike zone. So I got to follow the ball all the way to the glove. If when we're young umpires we get in trouble, is because we don't have that good tracking, we don't have the good timing, and we call it too soon.
It's so hard for me to imagine because the perspective that you have there is so unique, and it's it's something that not a lot of people get to experience. But you are like standing just a few feet behind the batter, and you're just staring straight down. I imagine you at some point dealt with all-time great Cy Young winners or whoever's throwing really fast baseballs at you. So it's just like the idea of being that point of view is very unique. And I'm just trying to imagine it. Is it at all scary being there, like having baseballs hurled at you? Or there sometimes like the catcher was a little slow and made you a little nervous?
No, I can honestly say I never was scared. I had pitchers that threw hard, yes. The fastball is not the hard one to call. If you track that properly, you can see it without any problem. The tough pitch to call is that breaking ball.
And what's a breaking ball for those who are less familiar with the game?
Well, the breaking ball is a curveball, a slider, and in some cases, the breaking ball is a knuckleball that dances all over the place. So you really, really have to have good timing, good tracking, and following the ball with your eyes on those kind of pitches.
Is it the most fun? Is home plate umpire kind of like the most fun of the umpire position? It's kind of, you get the most to do, it would seem like.
Well, I wouldn't put it in those terms as fun. To me, it was all fun. Do you have to be more alert behind the plate? Yes. Now, you go to third base. How many plays do you normally have at third base? Not as many. So you tend to try not to relax too much out there and get caught off guard. Now you move over to second base, there's a lot of action around second base. There's steal plays.
Yeah, you're standing in the middle of the field.
Yeah. And then you move to first base. To me, and I would say most umpires might agree, most of the tough plays happen at first base.
Why is that?
Because the runner runs fast and it's 90 feet, and you got the ball, and the runner almost reaching the ball, reaching the glove, and the runner reaching the bag at the same time.
You have to block out what the crowd is doing, right?
I can tell you the truth, and I think most umpires would agree. I've umpired games where I've had friends either standing down the foul line by first or third or behind home plate calling to me just to get me to look over at them to acknowledge that we're friends. Never heard them. You block all that out.
You mean players?
No, I'm talking about a buddy might come to the ball game.
Oh, just friends. I see.
And want to wave hello.
Sure.
Well, I don't hear that. You block that out. But if somebody says something from that dugout, I can tell you what they say in that dugout because my concentration is right there on the field, not in the stands. Those people pay to see the game. If they want to yell, let them yell. I mean, I've heard things in the stands like most people, but you've got to learn to block that out and ignore it.
Of course.
Sometimes you wish you didn't, but that's what you have to do.
Wow, that level of focus. I mean, you're in the stadium. Like, this is a baseball stadium with 20, 30,000 people cheering, booing, and to block that out and focus on these pitches that are being thrown 90, 100 miles an hour and to follow it every inch of the way from the pitcher's hand to the catcher's mitt. Is crazy. Like that's really a feat. Just, I mean, forget even actually making the call, but just to concentrate on that, it really must be. Is that a state of mind that even when you're not umpiring, like you ever recognize yourself like focusing on something else that closely?
Well, you're watching TV and you got people, maybe 2 or 3 family members, so off to one side, and they're talking and everything. You block that out so you can hear what's happening on TV. That noise in the stands is just like a murmur. I mean, you don't hear that one person yelling that one comment. It's all just a murmur. That's all that is to us. The same with a ball player. That's kind of irritates me occasionally when the golfer has to have total silence. The tennis player has to have total silence. And yet that NFL guy making that fantastic catch, Curry making that 3-point shot, that ball player hitting that 100-mile-an-hour fastball, how come that noise doesn't bother them? Because they block it out.
I mean, I have to assume you don't get into this unless you love baseball, right? Like, you must have grown up loving baseball, right?
Well, I played baseball in school, but I wasn't good enough to go anywhere.
But when you're umpiring, do you follow the sport outside of the game? Are you reading the papers and keeping up with what's going on, in baseball like a fan would?
No, I don't follow the baseball game in the newspaper, no. I'm an umpire. A lot of times, a lot of guys don't even read the paper because they don't want to hear about that kind of stuff. And I mean, the press is going to write what they want to write. They're going to write something that will sell papers or sell books. And so I'm not going to get engrossed in a newspaper or an article in a sports magazine about how bad I am or how bad you are. I really don't care what they think. I know what I'm doing. I know that I go out there and give you 100%. Do I have bad ball games? Yes. Do I hope I don't have another one? Right. Do I hope I've learned from my bad ball game? Absolutely.
But I don't even mean just reading sports coverage about yourself. Let's say you umpire one game. Do you check the scores of the other games? You following what teams are doing well, what players are doing? You don't follow that at all?
No, and I don't think most umpires do. There might be a few that do, but most umpires that I've talked to, when they're off the field, baseball's they hardly think about it.
That's surprising to me because I would assume, like I just said, that most umpires get into this because they have an above average interest in baseball. Is it the kind of thing where it becomes your life, it becomes your job, and you watch so much baseball that you get home at the end of the day and you're just like, all right, I'm good on baseball?
Me, for instance, I told you I've been teaching umpire school 45 years. If I turn a ball game on, I turn it on for one reason. I want to know who the 4 umpires are.
That's
after that, I probably don't watch much baseball.
Do you watch other sports?
Yeah. I watch football. I like college football more than pro football, and I like college basketball more than I do pro basketball.
I got to ask, watching sports with you, what's that like? Are you very judgmental, or do you complain about a lot of bad calls?
No.
I figured it was one or the other. You either see a lot of bad calls or you don't mind them at all.
Well, I did major college football and basketball when I was in the service, so I somewhat know that type of officiating, and I try not to critique, and the same on TV. I mean, do I have an opinion? Yes. Do I voice my opinion? No.
When you say you did them, you mean you officiated them or you played?
Yeah, no, I officiate college football and basketball.
What's the difference between officiating baseball versus basketball, between the different sports? Is one more difficult, one more interesting than the other?
Of the 3, I would say football, to me, was the easiest. Basketball was the hardest. But it's just a different sport. Of course, I haven't done that in so many years. Now with all these kids in basketball that are, 7-footers and everything, and the game is so fast. The same with football. I mean, it's so much bigger. The kids are bigger, so much faster than when I did that. It seems, I look back on some things, I say, boy, we were real slow compared to them.
One thing, it seems tricky, when you're an umpire, you kind of have to mix it up with people a little bit. Like, you have players and managers kind of getting in your face, and sometimes they're not happy with the job you're doing. And these are people, potentially big egos. These are some of the, these are superstars. They're rich. They're famous. And I imagine just over the years, some people more or less respectful than others. How do you deal with players and managers who are, just less respectful to you?
Well, in umpire school, we try to teach you how to handle that, and we call that situations. How do you handle situations? Everyone
needs to go to that class, not just umpires. I mean, literally everyone in the world could use that experience, Like, everyone's had the equivalent of a mad baseball manager yelling at them about a decision they made that they disagree with something. So, advice, how do you handle it?
In a situation thing, the easiest thing in the world to do is to throw a player out of the game. That's easy. That's not hard at all.
Did you ever throw a player out of the game?
No, I'll get to that in a second.
Okay. I don't want to tip the story.
The easy thing is to throw you out. The hard thing is to keep you in and try to defuse the situation and try to get you to respect me like you want me to respect you. Now, there's certain words or certain things in the game, whether it be football, basketball, or baseball, that you can say and you can't say. Anything you preface with you or your could possibly get you thrown out of the ball game.
If anything a player says,
or a manager. Yep.
Okay, right.
Yep.
When they're talking about you, the umpire, just using that second person you, that's enough to get them thrown out.
Now they can use they can use vulgarity on the field, and they do, but as long as it's not directed at you or it's not audible to the stands. If it's audible to the people, we got ladies and kids that come to baseball games, they're not out there to listen to an athlete use vulgarity. So I would have to warn you about it and eject you about it. And again, you never, as an official, allow any physical contact of any kind. No physical contact. No threats. A guy says, I'm going to kick your butt or whatever the case might be. Well, no. You never let anybody question your integrity. I'm out there. I don't care what side wins, what side loses. I'm going to give you the same chance I give the guy next to you. So don't question my integrity. Now, answer your question, have I thrown people out? Absolutely. But you know what? I never threw anybody out. They threw themselves out.
So there are rules, like here are the throw-outable offenses. But also, if I imagine someone just does something creative, like you kind of have free reign, like you have ultimate absolute power in that situation, right?
Well, yeah, but I don't like that term power, because we don't teach you as an official that you have power. We're trying to teach you to be fair, to be open-minded, to use fair play and common sense in making your rulings. We try to teach you how to diffuse the situation to begin with, so it doesn't erupt into a situation where I have to throw you out. Now, if you and I are arguing over a play, and you're screaming at me, and I'm screaming back at you, who's in charge?
I see what you're saying. I just got kicked out of umpire school, didn't I? I flunked out.
Yeah.
I was seduced by the power, Like, I immediately was attracted to, how can I use this to assert my authority rather than, just being a fair judge of the game?
Well, if you're saying that, then to me, authority means a lot to you.
Yeah, I don't actually want to do that. Just that's what I think about when I think about, being an umpire.
Now, you're on a radio program, right?
Yeah.
How do you hold your temper when I call in and don't like what you're doing, and I say something? What do you do, hang up?
Oh, I don't take callers, but I've definitely I've received more than my fair share of internet, meme comments on the internet, which is the modern day version of that. It's very different because it's not they're not in my face. Like no one is. No one is physically there in front of me. Like so, I can laugh it off a little bit easier. I think. And it's just like not pressing. No one's like pressing me live, I guess, in any situation.
Yeah, not always. That's a bad term, but I always thought to myself that here we got to play at first base, a little white ball, and this manager comes out and he absolutely goes bananas. Screaming and hollering the language and kicking dirt and throwing his hat, kicking his hat. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you do when your son comes home and says, Dad, God, I'm sorry, but I backed into a telephone pole and there's a dent in the car. What do you do, kill him?
Well, how much of the manager being mad, I'm asking you to speculate a little bit, but when you see the manager coming out and like steam coming out of his ears, do you think there's any element to that is performance a little bit for the fans and for, to make it look like they're really wrapped up and to let everyone know they're really upset with the way things are going. And also maybe to let you, the umpire, know, like, I don't know, to put some pressure on you to start. I'm not suggesting this would work, but you can imagine that they might think that putting up a big stink puts some pressure on you to start giving them some calls.
There's a lot of managers that do that, and you learn to recognize which ones do and which ones don't. A lot of them come out because they're trying to protect their ball player so that you, in fact, don't throw them out of the game. A lot of them come out to try to get that word in so that they think maybe you'll think about the next play coming up and it might go in their favor. But you don't do that. I don't have time when I've got a close play at first base. I don't have time to think, am I going to go with Jeff? Am I going to go against Jeff? I've got a call to make, and I've got to make it.
Right.
So,
right. When you moved on to teaching, did that give you a different perspective on, umpiring?
Yeah, I taught for the Windows School for 10 years, and then I went with Major League Umpire Development for 19 years, and I'm currently in my 15th year with Jim Evans at the Jim Evans Academy. And I think I learned more about how to handle people, how to teach, how to be understanding, and the respect from Jim Evans. Jim Evans told us as instructors that we are there for one reason only, and that's the student. If the student doesn't come, we don't have a job. So put yourself in their shoes. Remember when you were sitting out there as a student umpire, what you wanted, what kind of attention you wanted, what you wanted to learn. And you've heard the saying many, many times, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
Is there anything that you know? I'm sure there is. What do you know now that you have taught so many people that you wish you knew when you were actually umpiring?
God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. We tell our kids. I just did a clinic last October in San Diego High School, college, and then Tucson, and that was one of the emphasis. We find that more young umpires, and I'm not talking about age-wise, talking about experience-wise, more young umpires get in trouble because they think they got to get the last word in, and they got to answer everything that is said to them.
It's funny because you do think of the umpire as, a person with a mouth and eyes, but they're mostly reporting news when they're there. They're mostly saying what's going on. What are some things you should be listening to when you're an umpire and you're on the field? What should you use your ears for?
Well, in a lot of cases, I told you I don't hear the fans, but you listen to the dugout. You might have a situation coming up that you might be able to hear something out of the dugout that will alert you to the situation that might arise. In some cases, maybe a beanball, or some cases going to the mound or something. Just kind of listen to what they have to say and file it away and hope that you can do the job for them. And you come up to bat and I call you out on strike 3. Well, do I know that you got to carry the bat back to the dugout? There's 25 guys in the dugout. You just left runners on second and third. I mean, you've got to be understanding about that guy I just called on strike three. Am I going to try to show him up? No. Now a lot of umpires might not feel that way, what I'm talking about. I felt that way. I did not want to disrespect. I didn't want to show anybody up. I wanted them to respect me, and I will respect them. If you don't respect me, then you're going to pay the penalty.
What is the most difficult part of umpiring to teach people?
Self-control, diffusing a situation, consistency.
With that in mind, what advice would you give for people who want to be umpires? Obviously, they got to go to one of these schools. They got to learn something. But how should they mentally prepare themselves? What do they need to know?
Be a good listener. Try to pick like we tell the kids at umpire school, I'm here. I got 22 other instructors. Pick our brains. Ask us questions. We've been through this. You want to go through this. Pick our brains. To me, if you're on a crew with two other guys and you're the rookie on the crew, don't be a know-it-all. Don't be a wise guy. Don't think that you're the greatest thing, since fresh bread. Be a good listener. Ask questions. Find out what you can do, what you can't do. Well, Jeff, what did you do on that play? Why? What kind of ankle did you have on that play? Why did you do it that way? And learn from that.
Good advice, not just for umpires, but basically for everybody.
Oh yeah. It's one of my best friends in all the world. I've known him for 50-some years. A very good high school, college official. Now, after I got into pro ball, not before pro ball, but after I got in pro ball, and I realized what pro ball was like, I went back and I saw him, and we were talking one day, and he was telling me about this play and that play and this play, and it seemed like every time somebody was in trouble, it was his partner. He was never in trouble. And then he made a statement. I probably missed 2 plays all year long, and I have games where I don't miss a pitch. I looked across at him and I said, let me touch you so some of that brilliance rubs off on me. If you think you can go on that field and not miss a pitch and not miss a play, here's a good thing for you to, not you personally, but you as a person.
Right.
Have you ever read the poem, The Man in the Mirror?
I've heard the Michael Jackson song. Is it related?
I don't know. The Man in the Mirror. You look at the man in the mirror. If you can't be honest to him, you'll never be honest to anybody.
Right. So that's
our theory.
One thing that's interesting about baseball is that it is a game that's always evolving. And, if you're still teaching people, this must come up, like instant replay over the past few years has become an element of baseball. As an umpire, how do you feel about it?
Well, each one of us feels different about instant replay. I am not an instant replay fan. Now, instant replay is here to stay because the big money that pays for television and pays for the games is going to control what happens. The game went on for hundreds of years without instant replay. Did we make mistakes? Yes. Did mistakes cost somebody a game once in a while? Yes. But mistakes that umpires make have not cost as many games as the mistakes that ball players make. Now, I watched a game the other night, and it just really griped me. It was a steal play at second base, and the umpire called him out. Now, from where I was, he was out. They replayed that on television 6 to 8 times. They went and had New York make the final decision, and his fingers when he slid in head first probably were a half inch above the base, and they reversed the call. Now, did Was the call wrong? Yes. But holy mackerel, I got 1/100th of a second to make that decision. And you watching TV, replay TV, have got 5 minutes. That's why Dick Nelson's against replay. It's here to stay. There's nothing we can do about it.
So the problem, I mean, obviously, in terms of accuracy, if you can watch everything from 8 different angles for 5 minutes with, forget having to make a call in 1/100th of a second if you have all these different angles and slow motion and all that. Over time, you're going to be more accurate. So is your objection then that it slows down the game, or just that it's it's just a whole new element within the game that changes the game?
It has nothing to do with the time of the game. To me, and I know we can be questioned. I know that we may make mistakes, but my umpire's out there giving it 100%, and he's giving it everything he can. And his opinion, that guy was out. And because TV and technology showed that the runner's hand was a half inch above the bag, they reversed his call. I don't personally like that. I know there's a lot of people that they're going to tell me I'm wrong, or they're going to tell me I'm full of beans, or whatever the case may be. I really don't care. I'm not an instant replay umpire. You've been teaching for a while now, so you said you turn on the games just to see who's umpiring. You must have taught a decent number of umpires who are umpiring today, right? 65 Major League umpires I have instructed and supervised 58 of them.
Wow, really? So 58 of 65 umpires you have instructed at some point.
And supervised.
That is an enormous percentage. I mean, is that like when you look back at your career as an umpire, is that the thing you're the most proud of?
Yes, that's my reward. When I turn the TV on and I see the 4 kids walk on the field and I say, ha, those are, and when I use this statement, I use it with love. Those are my kids. I help train them. I help supervise them, and they're at the pinnacle of the job, and I am so proud of them. So proud of them.
That's fun. Okay. I wanted to close this out. I thought this might be fun. You tell me. I used to love these when I was a kid. I'm talking about, obscure baseball rule brain teasers, where there's, some complicated situation you have to figure out what the call is. Are you familiar with these?
Mm-hmm.
This is your life. This was your career. But some people do this for fun. Like me when I was a kid. So I kind of thought it'd be fun if I read some of these to you and when we got your calls.
Oh boy, you put me on the spot.
I'm going to put you on the spot. All right.
I'll try them.
So these come, let me first give credit. These are from Mental Floss Magazine, of course, the wonderful magazine. I am not smart enough to put these together myself. These are from Mental Floss Magazine. They're called Baseball Brain Teasers, and there's 10 of them. So if you think this is fun, I would encourage you to go look it out and give it a try yourself.
Let me preface that. Those kind of, and I'm not sure what you're talking about, but different rules of baseball and stump the umpire and all that stuff. A lot of those things are wrong because they don't pertain to professional baseball, and a lot of them are interpreted wrong. So I'll answer them as I would as a professional umpire.
That's great. I mean, I think I will 100%. If you say, whatever you say is the correct answer. If you disagree with what they have provided as the correct answer, that to me means they are wrong. Clearly you are the person who knows. So let's try one. Let's see how this goes.
Let's see what we do.
All right. With a man on first, the batter lines a grounder to second. The second baseman fields the ball with his bare hand and, without transferring the ball to the glove, so it's still in his bare hand, he tags the bag and tosses it wide to first. The first baseman gets the ball with his bare hand, then tags the runner with his glove, still holding the ball in his bare hand. What's the call?
Well, first of all, the ground ball to the second baseman, he fielded with the bare hand, and he touched second base with the ball in his bare hand. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is right.
He's out.
Right.
That man's out. Now he throws the ball to first base,
right.
And you said that the first baseman tagged the runner with an empty glove but the ball in his other hand?
Yep.
Didn't tag the bag, he tagged the runner.
That is right, he tags the runner.
runner's safe.
That is absolutely correct. When tagging the base, the fielder only has to have control of the ball and be touching the bag. When tagging a runner, the fielder has to either tag him with the ball or the gloved hand with the ball in it.
Oh, I'm 1 for 1. I quit.
I got two more for you. Let's see. I'm feeling good now. A runner is on first with no outs. The batter hits a line drive that accidentally hits the runner still standing on first in the leg. So the runner's standing on first. He gets hit in the leg by a line drive. The ball rolls to the first baseman who tags the bag. What's the call?
Well, first of all, the runner on first base, base is not safe haven. Therefore, the runner hit with a fair batted ball before a fielder had a chance to field the ball. The runner's out, the ball's dead, and the batter runner gets first base.
That is almost to a T exactly how they describe why the correct answer is correct. It's like you were reading this to me.
Yeah.
All right, one last one. Let's see if you go 3 for 3. There are men on second and third with 2 outs, and the batter hits the ball out of the park. The runner on third accidentally misses home plate, but all other runners touch all of the bases. How many runs score?
Well, what you haven't told me is I know the runner from third missed home, the runner from second scored, the batter runner scored. What did they appeal?
It's unclear. It's unclear what happened once everyone got home. But,
okay, well, if there's no appeal, 3 runs score.
This, according to this, if a runner misses the base he is required to touch, it's a force out. So by missing home plate, the runner on third ended the inning before any other run could score. So they say 0 runs should score.
Well, again, my first question was, in professional baseball, they'd have to put a ball in play, and then the pitcher would have to be on the rubber, and et cetera, et cetera. Then they would throw the ball to home and say, Dick, the runner from third missed home. Okay, that's the third out. No runs to score after the third out. But you said there was nothing in there about an appeal play. So if they don't appeal, you don't have to touch any bases. I can hit a grand slam home run and everybody miss every base. And if they don't appeal it, all 4 runs score. So without giving me the proper information as to whether it was appealed properly or not, all 3 runs score.
That's a real. I think your answer sounds very correct. This is a real like Hollywood situation. Like it is impossible to imagine. Has this ever happened to your knowledge that someone hits a home run, someone doesn't touch a base, and is challenged successfully, and the home run is taken away from them essentially?
Oh yeah,
that's happened.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
Now let me ask you a question. You said the answer to that said that the third out was what kind of play?
Well, they're saying there were 2 outs when this home run was hit.
Yep.
So they're saying the third out is that runner who never made it home.
And what do they call it?
They call him out and then say the inning's over, so no one else scores.
Oh, I thought you said, I misunderstood you. I thought you said that they said the third out's a force out?
They're saying that, the question...
Read me the answer.
The answer is if a runner misses the base he is required to touch, it is a force out.
No, see, that's not true at all. That runner from third is not forced to go home. That is not a force out. That's an appeal out.
I love that we are correcting mental floss. There are very few things in life as satisfying, and we have some. So there's some people at Mental Floss that listen to this. We're gonna let them know what's good. We're gonna let them know we got an umpire in. We have some notes on their baseball brain teasers, which are pretty good and we're pretty fun. But they got to do some more fact checking on their baseball brain teasers. It sounds like.
Yeah, but they didn't give enough information. But when they said that the runner from third is a force, F-O-R-C-E,
yep.
That is absolutely wrong. That is not a force out. It's an appeal out.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love that we got to the issue. Well, Dick, congrats. It sounds, it's an incredible career. It's something I've always been curious about. It sounds like you had, I guess I didn't really ask, but it sounds like you had a lot of fun doing it, right? Is it fun being an umpire?
Yes, I loved it, and I still love it, and that's why at 81 years old, I'm still teaching umpire school.
Yeah, you got to do something you love as a career, and you're still doing it, and you're teaching other people how they can do it and how they can make it their career. I really can't think of many things better. Thank you so much for making time to talk about it this afternoon.
Listen, thank you, and it was my pleasure.
That, folks, is what we call the Jeff Rubin Show. And listeners, I've got news for you. In 2 weeks, we will be celebrating together. All of us, will be celebrating the 5-year anniversary of the Jeff Rubin Show. It's about 5 years-ish. I started it. I always think, I remember staying inside for a July 4th weekend. So I always know July 4th is about right. We're going to be a little early, but we're going to call it 5 years. A 5-year anniversary special, and you're going to have to listen to find out what makes this special so special. But I assure you, regular Jeff Rubin Show listeners, this is going to be a special episode. I don't do special episodes often. This is one of them. It is the next episode of the Jeff Rubin Show. It's going up in 2 weeks, and you'll be the first to know about it if you follow me on Twitter, on, what else, Instagram, I don't know, you guys know the deal. YouTube, you can go to my YouTube channel. I think I'm going to post a new YouTube video this week, a new YouTube video over at youtube.com/Jeff Rubin. There's the Facebook fan page. Look, 5-year, I've been doing this for 5 years now. You know how to find me on social media. 5-year anniversary special, 2 weeks. It's going to be a good one. It really will. I'm very excited about it, if you can't tell. And I think you will be too. And I'll see you there. Bye.